Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to talk about asylum. I'm going to explain what it is. Even though the current administration has reduced the number of asylees allowed in the US every year since 2016, it is still a valid way to obtain your green card. In fiscal year 2019, USCIS found that 72,252 applicants met the credible fear standard in their application process. You've probably heard my story, but if you haven't, I want to share it with you. My name is Mejer. I'm an immigration attorney. My family immigrated to the US when I was a child. We came here with visas and we hired an attorney. 2 years later and $5,000 later, they did absolutely nothing for us. They said they were going to help us get their green cards and they did nothing. We lived without legal status for almost a decade. I decided to become a US citizen and an attorney to help people like my family. I'm committed to helping 5,000 families in the next 5 years get legal status. My office does everything it can for the clients we have the privilege of serving as if we're helping our own family members. I consider each of my clients to be part of my family, which is huge now because we've helped almost 4,000 people pursue their dream of legal status.
Calificas para ser legal, quieres saber, solo llama al abogado Andrés Mejer.
So what is asylum? Asylum is a protection that is given to someone leaving their home country due to safety concerns. Put another way, it's a legal status that is applied for by a person who's fleeing persecution in their home country. The United Nations Refugee Act requires the U.S. to grant asylum to people who meet the criteria. Asylees are people who apply for asylum, while asylees are refugees from their own country. The term refugee in U.S. immigration is used to refer to those who are applying for asylum from outside the United States. Inside the United States, the U.S. calls it asylum. So asylum and asylees are the terms used for those who are applying inside the U.S. and compared to refugees that are applied usually with other non-governmental entities who are assisting in the refugee process. In order to qualify for asylum, you must prove that you have a credible fear of persecution in your home country because of a protected reason. Let's break that down because it's complicated. First, persecution. You have a credible fear of persecution if you return to your country. That is more than just fear that you'll be subject to torture, imprisonment, or physical abuse. So either something bad happened to you or you have a really good reason to suspect something bad will happen when you return. Supreme Court of the U.S. has said that there only needs to be a 10% chance that bad things will happen to you in order for you to meet the threshold necessary for asylum. Proof. You must show that the persecution is caused by the government of your home country or by a group your home country the government is unable or unwilling to control. And it has to be for a protected reason. So you have to be persecuted. What does that mean? That you'll be tortured, imprisoned, or you will get physical abuse. By whom? By the government or someone the government can't or won't control. And 3, why is this happening? It has to be for a protected reason. Persecution can't be just for any reason. It has to be for one of 5 reasons protected by law. First, race or nationality. It's actually 2. I group race and nationality together because the distinction is often not clear. Race, nationality, I'll even throw in ethnicity, are often blurred and frequently misused. Take a Native American or an American of African descent. Now, that could be ethnicity, that could be race. It could even be nationality. So it does get confusing. Take an Italian American, that's definitely a nationality, but it could also be an ethnic group. Think language, culture, food. Ethnic groups further blur these lines. An ethnic group usually shares cultural history or linguistic history. It can also be a shared political history, but doesn't have to be. Think of the Kurds. They're in Syria, Turkey, and Iraq. Now they want their own country, They have similar political history, they have similar cultural and linguistic history, but obviously their political situation in Syria might be different than Turkey and in Iraq. Certainly it's different than Iraq, which is almost an autonomous area. An ethnic group can also have racial categories, which are usually based on physical characteristics. Think of indigenous features of, for example, the Mapuche in Chile, where I was born, or the Mayans in Mexico. Second, so we got race, nationality. Third, religion. This doesn't have to be a difference in religion, like think Christians or Coptics who are in Egypt, a Muslim country. But it does have to be persecution due to religion. So if you are targeted by a gang in El Salvador because you work for a church to help drug abusers beat their addiction, that is still persecution on account of religion. 4. Political opinion. This refers to attitudes that people have regarding their country, government, or society. The attitudes can be expressed by voting, party membership, union membership, advocating, or just commenting on public affairs. Public opinion can also be imputed, rightly or wrongly, from people's behavior or from who people associate with. Let me give you an example. An employer can be persecuted for employing a political activist, even if this job has nothing to do with politics and the employer didn't even know about his activism. So in that case, the employer's political opinion is imputed because of who he employs. It doesn't mean it actually is his political opinion. It just means he's perceived to have that opinion. Another example is someone who's targeted as a homosexual because he has a gay friend. That is, again, an imputed political opinion. The assumption is just because someone he knows is gay, he must be gay too. Now, that political opinion, specifically homosexuality, can also be a particular social group, which is the next protected ground. 5. Particular social group is a group sharing a common characteristic that is so fundamental to their individual identity that they cannot or should not be expected to change it. It is people who have a similar background, social status, lineage, experience, or habits. Shared characteristics could be something you were born with, like gender, color, or family ties. It can also be a shared experience, like property owner, former gang member, former military official, or police officer. Example of particular social groups that have been approved by law, tribes, well, by law I really mean by case decisions and appeals. Tribes, ethnic groups, which we previously discussed. Social classes, for example, educated elites. Now, we don't want to say rich or poor. That's very hard to define, but we'll discuss that later in a little bit. Family members of dissidents, homosexuals, child soldiers, former members of police or military targeted for assassination. The U.S. had been recognizing persecution based on gender. For example, being forced to or afraid that you will be forced to undergo female genital mutilation, Islamic dress code requirements, forced marriage, or domestic violence. Now, I've previously talked about domestic violence because in 2018, Attorney General Jeff Sessions challenged whether domestic violence can be a particular social group. I explained then, and I still argue today, that women who don't want to be abused or are considered property, that sentiment is also an expression of a political opinion, which is a separate protected ground. So, female afraid of domestic violence alone as only a particular social group would be a mistake. It should be particular social group and political opinion. That just means you got to check the right box when you fill out the form, which is why it's important to have the right attorney when you do this. A group is more likely to be a particular social group if it is unique in society. Take, for example, rich or poor. Since those terms can't easily be defined, it would be hard to prove what does rich mean? What does poor mean? How much is it? How much money they make? Is it the house they live? Is it the place where they live? Is it the schools their kids go? Is it the cars they drive? What is the definition? It's too vague. So compare that with women who are rape victims of militants in their home countries. That is clear, it is precise, and it is a lot easier to define. How to apply. You must file Form I-589, Application for Asylum and Withholding of Removal, within 1 year of your arrival to the U.S. There is no fee to apply for asylum today, but the government is trying to change that. You should include your spouse and children, by children I mean under 21 and not married, who are in the U.S. with you when you file the application. Or you can amend your application up until the time you make a final decision, or a final decision is made on your application. After you file, you can check your case status with the receipt number that will be mailed to you at uscis.gov/case status. This is a difficult time for every immigrant to the U.S. It seems like this administration is making it harder and harder for those seeking for asylum. If you think you may qualify, please contact our office. We will work with you. If you don't qualify, we can help you determine your next best steps, including looking at the possibility of other legal status. We have often found relief for our clients when other attorneys said there was no hope. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to see our other videos when they are released. Until next time, stay safe and well.